Dragonfly Engineering is only 800 miles away, so time for a road trip. A few weeks ago, my wife and I decided to take a road trip. That's because we wanted to visit various locations, including from the Pacific Northwest, which is where we live, first Bend, Oregon, and then Santa Clara to Dragonfly Engineering, down to Rancho Cucamonga to visit with a bunch of other YouTubers at the Barzi Summer Bash. And then on the way back up, we went to Bakersfield for a visit and then Santa Rosa for another visit. So what you'll see in this video is at least part of my visit with Dave from Dragonfly Engineering. He has some pretty nice injection molding machines plus a bunch of robots. Very interesting channel. In this video, I'm interviewing Dave, and then you'll find his video on his channel of him interviewing me. So be sure to check out his video as well, and I'll have a link to his video in the description, as well as another card at the end of this video. So as you can see, I'm at Dragonfly Engineering.
Hello, everyone.
We thought we'd do just a little video of the two of us together.
Yeah.
I've been watching your videos for a long time, but I've never asked you about, because I've never talked to you before, your background and how you got into injection molding.
Oh, okay.
And how you got into the shop.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so I'm Dave with Dragonfly Engineering, and the shop slowly evolved from a single car garage in Mountain View that I was renting with basically just a manual mill and a Morgan press. And I slowly, through working my day job and then playing around in the garage at night, slowly built up what we have here today.
So what was your day job?
Let's see, at the time, it was working in the biotech industry, working on new diagnostic machines and consumables for several different biotech companies that I've worked for. Generally speaking, I drift in and out of being an employee versus self-employed. And when I started out in Mountain View in a single car garage, just very small space, who was I working for? It was some biotech company.
Yeah, but isn't that the way it works in the Valley? You start out in the single car garage?
Yeah.
I mean, Hewlett and Packard started, what was it, Menlo Park or Mountain View?
I think Palo Alto, or
Palo Alto?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know it was a single car garage where they started.
Yeah, and Apple started the same way. The Apple computer.
Yeah.
In fact, Fry's Electronics that used to be here showed a replica of the very first Apple, which is on a wooden board, and the circuit boards are screwed onto it with a keyboard in front of it.
Yep.
And they started in a garage in Cupertino, I believe. So anyway, so that's kind of how I did, except I would work my day job and then at night try out the latest mill or the new program, and slowly worked up from there. Then I moved to a different house, or I bought a house with a garage that was 3 times as big, but still very small. And proceeded to fill that garage up completely with an injection molding machine, the Haas TM1 mill, which we saw over there.
Yeah, which is a lot larger in person than I realized.
Yeah, and runs off of a dryer outlet in a house, so that was good. And then the Boy the Boy 35-ton molding machine I purchased, and all of that was while mostly I was still employed by a day company. A different biotech company where I started to convince people there that we should injection mold consumables. Wound up buying a couple of large Van Dorn molding machines from the internet for the company. So a lot of my injection molding experience started with like Morgan press, kind of hobby-ish in-house work, and then through funding through my employer and me convincing the employer that we should jump to injection molding, because I'd come in at night with parts that I molded on the Morgan press, and I'd say, look what we can do, and they're like, huh. So finally, one day they decided I could buy a machine on eBay for the company. And then that took off into me kind of really gaining the production experience for injection molding.
When you were doing the molds for the Morgan, I assume they were not, didn't have ejector pins, they were just simple.
Correct, yeah, or very rudimentary. Mostly just 2 halves, similar to the molds that you make. where it's two halves that you manually pull apart and then have schemes to eject the parts out.
Got it.
And really it was, and in fact, I started renting my Morgan press to my employer and because they were actually adopting the parts that I was molding in the next round of the product and the instrument and all that. So yeah, it just snowballed from there.
And then how did you get to the point where you learned how to do ejector pins and all of the other things required in these much more complicated molds?
A lot of that was done with my employer or my day job. After we got the first molding machine, like a production style large molding machine like this, then basically we started figuring out how to do ejector pins. And the funny thing is I didn't actually look on YouTube or research how modern molds are made. So we kind of just invented our own, and sometimes like the service guy for the molding machine would come in and look at us funny because what we were doing was way different than what should be done in production, which I finally realized, oh, I should do what everyone else on earth does because there's good reasons for that. So yeah, and then so a lot of it was self-taught, and then the rest was just watching YouTube videos like yours, for instance. I learned things from your episodes.
From my episodes?
Yeah, in fact, your nylon versus ABS episode for that electronic housing for that, I think it was a train controller.
Yes.
I actually forwarded your video into a company email saying this is why nylon is bad. Listen to this guy.
That's cool.
Because I'm molding a nylon part, which has all sorts of problems. You know, when it gets wet, it grows. Or other nylon issues. So I actually used your video for my day job to explain, to illustrate the differences in, for instance, nylon. So
well, that's very cool.
So yeah, everyone needs to keep learning by watching YouTube because all new information continually flows. So
yeah, I was thinking that you knew everything already, and I only had to learn from you. So I'm quite honored that you learned something from me.
It's a tribal knowledge thing that we have here. So
yeah, and that's actually a good point. A lot of it is more art than science.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, now I'm basically full-time, or I was full-time running my own business ever since. What was it, about 2013 or so? And I rented a shop after I quit the day job there. And then a few years later, this shop came up available for sale. So it was actually cheaper to buy this unit than deal with the continual rent increases that seem to be happening. So yeah, I moved all the equipment in here and basically worked full-time Dragonfly for several years. Now recently, one of my customers has actually hired me, so I do daytime work for a customer, and I still do some individual work for either YouTube customers or other friends, or ideally my own product line one day. And you know, Game Tamer, that's a big
like Marcy behind the camera over there.
Yeah, a contributor to a lot of the work over the last year. And probably keep going. Plan on buying more robots. One thing that you'll find out with starting your own business is tax deductions. So every year you either have a big bill from the IRS for the money you made as a business owner, or you can buy a new toy and half of your tax bill goes away. So it's an insidious process where basically every year you have to buy a new fancy toy to play with. Otherwise, you got to pay all that money to the IRS. So that is a thing that happens. Hence, all of the big fancy toys that seem to keep accumulating. It actually saves money, and you know, is one way to describe it.
Yeah, I guess the other way to describe it is you can bootstrap a lot faster.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, we just keep on cranking here, and it's fun. It's a lot of work, but it's also fun and fulfilling too. So yeah.
Very cool. And of course, you're standing in front of this huge machine that we've been all watching, which you said is 250 tons?
Yeah, 250 metric ton clamping with a rotary table.
And what's the electrical that you have for this? It must be huge.
Oh yeah, so, well, that's one of the issues I have is I'm running out of power to this unit. So this machine runs on 480 volt 3-phase. So I've got a transformer that bumps up the city 3-phase to 480 volts. and I actually split the heaters from the motor to make it work in this space. So there's two circuits.
Got it.
There's a heater circuit just to turn on the heaters to melt the plastic, and then there's a separate circuit to run the electric motors. But ironically, this machine, which is 3 times bigger than my older 90-ton molding machine, uses less power because it's modern stepper drives and modern electronics and modern everything. Its energy efficiency is better than a machine that's 1/3 the size.
That's so cool.
Which is kind of crazy to wrap your mind around. So the 90-ton machine and this machine can't run at the same time. Mostly because the 90-ton machine is hogging all of the power. But it's also 20 years old, so it's, you got to give it a break.
Yep.
But and soon the robot will be plucking parts out of this. So that'll be the next thing.
Cool.
Need to get to soon. I recently bought a lithium-ion battery pack, almost like a Tesla Powerwall.
Yeah.
That I'm basically going to charge it at night and then unplug it in the morning, and then I've got an extra outlet, basically. It'll run like 4 hours.
Because
like
you're
10
that
a.m.
close to the power limit of this unit?
Yeah. When we got the heaters heating up their mold, and if you turn on the vacuum sweeper or the microwave or something, then breakers are tripping. So it's like,
Yeah.
I may even put solar panels back there when the doors open, to block the heat and to collect power to charge this unit.
Makes sense.
So I'm going to have an episode about that soon.
Well, this has been great to see all of us. It's,
Oh yeah, well thank
quite
you for
impressive.
coming and visiting. It's always nice to see fellow YouTubers visit, and yeah, thanks.
Okay. Make sure you check out Dave interviewing me in the video link up above on his channel. And also, of course, check out his other videos. Please help me grow the channel by giving me a thumbs up, commenting below, subscribing, and if you're already a subscriber, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button to ensure you're notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.